Now it will start. Good morning, children. Hope you all of you are fine. Okay. Today we are going to study the first chapter of history. And the first chapter of history is tracing changes through 1,000 years. Okay. In your last year's book, uh, that is our past part 1, we studied about the ancient period. Okay. Whenever we try to study history, okay, first of all we must know why we study history. Okay, the study of history is important because if we study history, okay, we are able to understand our present in a better way. Okay, and the word history has been derived from a Greek word historia. It is meaning inquiry, knowledge acquired by investigation. Okay, so we see that history, okay, is a kind of inquiry that takes place. Okay, and we apply our knowledge, our skills to know about our forefathers. Okay, the early human beings, and that is why the study of the past is very important. But it is not possible on our part, okay, to study history at a single glance. Okay, so what we do is we periodize it. We periodize history into three, mainly historians or the scholars, they have periodized history into three main periods. Okay, and why is periodization important? Periodization helps us to understand a single period in a better way. What is periodization? Periodization is the process of categorizing the past into discrete, quantified, named blocks, okay, of time in order to facilitate the study and analysis of history. Okay, and we know what is history. Okay, history is the study of the past of human life. Okay, and all the activities and events related to humans. Okay, so history is the study of the past of human life. Okay, and all the activities and events related to humans. So we see that, okay, the periodization of history takes place into three important periods. Okay, let us see. History is periodized. Okay, it is history. By history we mean the time when the people, okay, our early forefathers, okay, or the primitive man, he started writing. Okay, it was the time when he started writing, and that is why we have records about the past of the humans. Okay, so we periodize history, okay, into three important, into three periods. What are these? The ancient period. Okay, then you have the medieval period, and after the medieval period you have the modern period. Now you must be wondering what was the timeline, okay, of each of these periods. Okay, So this is the three important periodization that takes place in history. Okay, in class 6 books you have studied about this period, ancient period. Okay, and in class 7, our history part 2, our past part 2. Okay, we will be studying about the medieval period. Okay, that is the period between 500 AD to 1500 AD. And you know how we calculate these ADs and BCs. Okay, we take the birth of Christ as the main timeline, okay, for deciding the period which was before the birth of Christ and after the birth of Christ. Okay, so the time period that was there, okay, in history before Jesus Christ was born, that period is called before Christ. Okay, ईसा पूर्व हिंदी में हम कहते हैं. ओके, और ईसा मसीह के जन्म के बाद का समय जो है, ओके, हम उसे हिंदी में ईसवी कहते हैं. एडी को जो है हम ईसवी कहते हैं. ओके, सो दिस इज हाउ वी पीरियडाइज हिस्ट्री. नाउ व्हेन यू लुक एट द first chapter of your book, you will see the chapter begins with two maps. Okay, in this chapter we will study about the transition. Okay, in this chapter we will study about the transition that took place from the ancient period to medieval period in India. Okay, and during the medieval period, as we can see from the chapter itself, okay, during the medieval period, the art of making maps was predominant. Okay, we see that people were involved in making a number of maps related to different parts of the subcontinent. So we see what is from this we can find out that the art of making map is called cartography. It is the art of drawing maps. Okay, we know this, that calligraphy, often children they get confused with cartography and calligraphy. So for your better understanding, I'm going to write the, okay, the definition of calligraphy. It is the art of beautiful writing. Calligraphy is the art of beautiful writing, and cartography is the art of drawing maps. So from this we see that, okay, during this period, during the medieval period, in the first chapter itself, we see reference of two geographers, okay, two cartographers. The first one is Al-Idrisi, who was a Arab cartographer, and the second one is a French cartographer. Though we do not have the, okay, proper details of the French cartographer, but we see that, okay, these two cartographers, they are involved in making maps related to this period. Okay, now let us try to understand what kind of map was prepared by Al-Idrisi. Okay, Al-Idrisi, the Arab geographer or the cartographer, we can say, for our convenience. Okay, he was a person, he was engaged in making map. Okay, and his map was one of the precise map. His map was precise, as he tried to explain a smaller section on a large map. Okay, It was a detailed map, we can say, okay, because he tried to explain a small section of a place on a larger map. And we know that whenever we write Urdu, okay, we write it from backwards. Similarly, if you look at this map, we will see map is the map is upside down, okay, as the southern part is drawn on the top, okay. We see that the southern part is drawn on the top, okay. The other fact related to this map was that, okay, Al-Idrisi, he applied no imagery or text, okay, no imagery or text. No imaginary or text is applied, okay. The exact geographical part is explained. And the final thing that we come about to know about the map of Al-Idrisi was that the map that was drawn by Al-Idrisi, it was considered precise till 3 centuries, okay. It had its importance. It was considered accurate for 3 centuries, okay. So we see that these were the main information related to the map that was prepared by Al-Idrisi. Now we move to the French cartographer, okay, who made a similar map, okay, but his map was understood, it is more understandable by us because all of us are not familiar with the language Arabic, okay. French is somewhat similar to, okay, English, so we are a bit able to understand this map, and as such we see French cartographer or the French geographer, he made his map in the year, okay, 1720s, okay. And in his map he has tried to, he explained the area that is Kannauj of UP, okay. Kannauj has been explained, and we see that this map was, okay, it was used by the European settlers who tried to visit our subcontinent, okay. So we see this map was, okay, used by the European settlers who tried to visit our continent, okay. The map that we use today, okay, it was prepared by the map that we the subcontinent from the early 18th century, okay. The map, second map, it is a part of the map that has been prepared during the early 18th century, and it is a part of the Atlas Novio of Gulameli de Isli, okay. So it is a part of the map that was prepared during the early 18th century. As we proceed in the lesson, okay, when we proceed in the lesson, we come across new and old terminologies. In our class 6 book also, we came across the word India and Bharat. Okay. When we try to name our country, we see that the historians use the words India and Bharat in two different contexts. Okay. Names of the land. This was a heading under which you studied about the two terms that was applied for our country. One was India, okay, and the other one was Bharat, okay. Where from we got this word India? If you remember your class 6 book, you will, okay, try to understand that the word India, it was given by the Iranians and the Arabs, okay. It was given, this term India was provided to us by the Arabs and the Iranian traders who crossed the river Indus to reach our country. Okay, and when they crossed this river, okay, this river Indus, it was called Sindhu in Hindi, and it is from this word Sindhu the name India or the Indos, okay, the Arab and the Iranian traders gave the term, or we can say they used the term, terms Indos or Hindos for the areas lying east of the river Indus. Okay, it is from this, okay, it is from this term, okay, Indos or Hindus, that finally the word India came, and we see that this name was, okay, used by the historians or the scholars to describe the subcontinent of our the subcontinent India. Okay, when we move towards the second term, when we try to understand the second term, Bharat, okay, Bharat was a great ruler of his times, okay, and we get mention about Bharat in the, okay, in our one of the greatest epics, Mahabharata, okay. But the historians and the scholars, when you go through the book of your last year, you will see that the term Bharat was applied. Bharat was applied for a group of men mentioned in the Rig Veda. Okay, Bharat was applied for a group of men, okay, or a community of men that were living near the banks of the river Ganga, okay, and a special mention about this we get from the Rig Veda. Okay, Rig Vedas were the earliest composition. Rig Vedas were the earliest compositions Rig Vedas were the earliest compositions written around 3,500 years ago. Okay. So Rig Vedas were a part of the four Vedas, okay, that were written around 3,500 years ago. Okay. Now let us move further. In your book, that is class 7's book, first chapter, okay, two terms have been applied. Two terms have been applied for the subcontinent India. And these two terms or the two terminologies, these two terminologies have been applied, okay, by two different people. Okay. The first one is under the section new and old terminologies. So the old terminologies we have understood, okay, from where we get the new terminology. Under this section, we come across the word Hindustan, okay. We come across the word Hindustan, okay. This word was used by the chronicler Minaz-e-Siraj, okay. It was used by Minaz-e-Siraj in 13th century. And what does the word Hindustan meant for him? According to Minaz-e-Siraj, okay, Hindustan was used for the areas of Punjab, Haryana, and the lands between the Ganga and Yamuna. He used the term in a political sense for lands that were part of the dominions of the Delhi Sultans. Okay, so we see Minaz-e-Siraj, he was a chronicler, okay, and he used this term for the areas that were lying, okay, around Punjab, Haryana, and the lands between the Ganga and the Yamuna. The areas included in this term shifted with the extent of the Sultanate, but the term never included South India. So South India was not a part of this term Hindustan. Okay. The second term that we see that has been applied in this section is Hindu. We see the word Hindu. This term was used by Amir Khusro. Okay. So we see Amir Khusro, he was a 14th century. He was a 14th century poet. So we see who is Minaz-e-Siraj. He was a chronicler. But when we come to Amir Khusro, we see that he was a poet. Amir Khusro, he was a poet, and he used the word Hindu in his poem, okay, for the places that had political and national meaning, which we associated with it today. Okay, he used the word Hindu for our country, India. Okay, so we see these are the two types of terminologies that were used by different people. Okay, historians today have to be very careful about the terms they use because they meant different things in the past. Okay, now another term that we take up for our better understanding is the word foreigner. If we try to understand the word foreigner in present day context, we will see that the term foreigner, okay, it means what? When we take up this term or the word foreigner, we see that the word foreigner in present day context, it means what? In present day context, it means someone from the outer world. Okay, Outer world here means not a part of our country. Okay. In present day context, it means someone, okay, from the outer world. But in the past, it was not so. During the medieval period, the word foreigner was applied for a person. When we go through the pages of the first chapter of the book, we will see, okay, in medieval period, the term foreigner was applied for a person, okay, who was not a part of the village community. Okay, so a person, whoever tried to visit the village community, he was considered a foreigner by the people residing in the village. Okay, a city dweller, a city dweller, a person who resides in the city is called a city dweller. A city dweller was a foreigner for the villagers. Okay, why? Because he was unknown to them and he came from a different area. Okay, that was not inhabited by these villagers. So the city dweller was a foreigner for the villagers. People in the past, they mainly resided in the forest. People in the past, as we saw in the ancient period, we saw people in the past were mainly what? Were mainly forest dwellers. But with passage of time, what we saw? They were mainly forest dwellers. Okay. With passage of time, we saw they became settled agriculturalists. They became settled agriculturalists. And then, okay, finally, they started domesticating animals. Finally, they started domesticating animals. Domesticating animals. Okay. And for the protection of their crops and these animals, okay, they started staying in groups, in communities, and this is how the village came into existence. And when they started moving from the village area to distant places, okay, like the far off places, the cities developed, and the cities were the bustling areas for trade and commerce. So we see, okay, that this is how the villages and the cities, they developed. As they happen. Okay, chronicler का मतलब होता है a person who writes descriptions of historical events as they take place or as they happen. अब scribe, what do you mean by the word scribe? Okay, a scribe is a person who serves as a professional copyist. Okay, A person who serves as a professional copyist is called a scribe. Scribes का काम क्या होता था? Scribes